Well, are you making this one mistake when you roll over a 401k plan? Today we're going to take a look. Stay tuned for Prudent Money. Good afternoon, this is Bob Brooks, and you are listening to the Prudent Money Radio Show. Thank you so much for joining me today. You know I do appreciate it. Well, if you got a question for me, I want to invite you to go to the website at prudentmoney.com. Send that question in, and I will get it answered. It's a great resource for you. That's all at the website, www.prudentmoney.com. And if you ever do miss a program, know that we do podcast every program, and it's out on every major platform. All you have to go is look it up, search it out, and listen to it on your own time. You can also listen to it at prudentmoney.com. It's off the website at prudentmoney.com. One of the things I like to do is take articles that I find on pop culture finance and kind of talk through some of the beliefs and the instruction that goes along with these articles, so that you can get an idea of the other side of the story. I always talk about the other side of the story, and that's one of the main principles of Prudent Money, is that you understand how both sides work, and you go along with the one that works best for you, the one that you feel led to do. This article that talks about one of the biggest mistakes that people make when they move retirement plans from a company that they used to be with to an IRA. You know, one of the first rules of thumb when leaving a job is to take your retirement account with you. It's just like, I give this example a lot. It's like you box up your desk, you gather all your personal belongings, and you make that walk to the outside of the building, never to return again, because you got all your personal items with you. But what people do is they do box up everything out of their office, but they leave one of the most important parts of their employment back with the company, and that's the 401k plan. So I always suggest either take advantage, we'll talk about why I think it is an advantage here in a minute, but take the advantage of rolling over that 401k plan into either a IRA at the company that the 401k plan's with, if you don't really have somebody that you want to work with, or you haven't picked anybody out, or move it to an IRA with an advisor, or to a Fidelity or Vanguard or Charles Schwab where you can manage it yourself. Or you can also wait, and when you get another place of employment, you can move that money to the retirement plan there. And that would be what's called a direct transfer, moving it from one 401k plan to another. But there are some great advantages to taking that money with you. The first one is it gives you options, and that's options you don't have with most 401k plans. It also allows for you to take the opportunity to consolidate various accounts into one big retirement strategy. I think that the most accounts in 32 years of working with clients, I think the most accounts that I have consolidated, I had a prospective client who became a client, came in and had 10 accounts, money spread out all over the place. And we moved all that and consolidated that money for him. It gives you the opportunity to employ strategies that goes beyond investing that you just wouldn't have. It's much easier to, as I talk about the Plan A and the Plan B approach, it's much easier to go about implementing a Plan B because of the strategies and the options that you have. Just like anything else, you've got expenses, but you have a little bit better control over expenses, knowing what they are and being able to change that, whether you have the choice to increase or decrease. Now, why would anybody increase? Because maybe the opportunity that comes along with higher expenses. And that's the thing. There's nothing wrong with expenses as long as they pay for themselves. And then there's the control that you have. You know, one of the problems that I see with people who leave 401k plans sitting at old companies they used to work at is that maybe they move a couple of times, move houses, buy and sell a house, whatever it might be, and they forget to change the address. And then all of a sudden that 401k plan gets lost. And I can't tell you how many times that through this process that someone will say, oh, you know what, I still have a 401k plan at XYZ company, and I know how much is in there or what the risk level is. Just happen to remember that, and it could be, I think the most that I've ever come across where somebody had forgotten about a retirement plan was like $500,000 to $600,000. Downside to a 401k plan is that you don't have the options. You really don't have the appropriate types of investments to do diversification the right way. You've got bonds and you've got stocks, and that's about it. And you can only do so much diversification. And of course, that hasn't worked out really well because bonds have been a really tough investment. We talked about these yesterday over the past 3 years and starting to pick up a little bit. But like I said yesterday, I don't think that bonds are just a really great place to be invested quite yet. And then there are 401k plans that sounds like a great idea when you're told about it, but really the more you look into it, you realize it's just another fee that you're paying that you're really not getting anything for. And it's these advisory-based services where they, quote unquote, manage the money for you, when really all they're doing is reallocating it between some investments maybe once a year, which, by the way, is something that you can do, or you could even pay a financial planner to look at your portfolio once a quarter and make suggestions on how he or she would make, what types of changes they would make. That would be a lot cheaper than paying one of these advisory services where they charge a certain percent based on your assets, and you still don't really know what you're getting for it. But yeah, when you're leaving your place of employment, definitely take the 401k plan with you. Now, is that a rollover or what's called a direct transfer? And this is something that people oftentimes get confused. A rollover is when you move money from a type of retirement plan, such as a 401k plan, and you move it to an IRA. Typically, that involves if you're doing it with an advisor, you and your advisor would call the 401k plan. The 401k plan would get permission from the 401k holder to get permission to talk to the financial advisor and get the account moved. It takes maybe 10 minutes in most cases. Pretty easy process to do. Used to, when you did that or you made significant changes, the person on the other end would try to talk you out of it. Nowadays, they just go along with your request. Or maybe that's because there's a financial advisor present, which has its advantages because you don't have to go through that process of, hey, you sure you want to do this? Have you thought about this? And that sort of thing. But this article talks about the biggest mistakes, or the biggest mistake that employees make when they roll their money over to an IRA from an old 401k plan. And basically it talks about that they move the money into a money market, which is like a savings account inside the IRA, and then they forget about it. They don't do anything with it. They leave it alone. And they make one of the biggest, and I think wrong implications, that you missed out on something. You missed out on retirement gains. This had several quotes in it, and we'll talk about it as we go through. Had several quotes in this article about how the 401k participant, now IRA retirement account holder, missed an opportunity, left if they would have been invested, they would have made $100,000. Well, I think it's a little bit of armchair quarterbacking. And all it does is make if you're an advisor, make the client feel like, and I feel really good about the decisions they made. I look at it this way. You move the money. You didn't do anything with it for several years. It is what it is. You are where you are. Now, what's the best moves to make with it? Why sit there and talk about whether or not they should have invested? And one of the implications that I think is absolutely wrong that are made is that they missed the one big chance to make money. You missed the rally. So what? There are tons of opportunities to make money in retirement accounts. Literally tons of them every year. If you miss out on one of them, or you miss out on the rally, that's just one of many rallies that you've missed out on. And it's really not about what you did in the past. It's about what you learned from the past and what you are going to do going forward. But there's a couple of reasons why you might want to leave it in cash. Number one, you're not real confident as to where you want to move it. What advisor, you haven't met an advisor yet maybe that you want to work with. You're in a situation where you don't have really have the time to invest into it right now. Just don't forget about it and make sure that you need to take care of it at some point. Or you just got laid off, and one of the things that you don't want to do is lock up that money into an investment plan after you've been laid off, when it could be a situation where you need to use it. Of course, it's the last place you want to go, but it could be the case. Hey, this is Bob Brooks. We are up against a break. Stick around, and I'll be right back. Hi, this is Bob Brooks. What is the single most important verse on stewardship? Well, you can find that verse in two books, word for word, Matthew 6:24 and Luke 16:13. No one can serve two masters. Either you will hate the one and love the other, or you will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money. Wow, what a powerful statement. On the Prudent Money Radio Show, we talk stewardship and how to stay in a committed, surrendered stewardship relationship with God. Listen to the Prudent Money Radio Show weekdays at 3 p.m.
This is Rob Randall, your host and teacher of the Invisible War radio program. The Invisible War is the study of God's Word on how to walk in Christ's victory in the spiritual battles we face against the powers of darkness. Join me every Sunday morning at 9 right here on KDKR and KYJC in Commerce, your station for life.
Hi, I'm Jan Markell, host of Understanding the Times. We're very excited to be a part of Bible School Radio. I hope you will join me Saturday, 10 a.m. for cutting-edge guests and the latest information to help you discern the truth, even the inconvenient truth. We'll help you understand our times and contend for the faith. That's Understanding the Times, Saturday at 10 a.m. right here on Bible School Radio, or anytime at olivetreeviews.org.
Welcome back. This is Bob Brooks, and you are listening to the Prudent Money Radio Show. Thank you so much for joining me today. You know I do appreciate it. If you've got a question for me, please go to the website at prudentmoney.com. And once you get there, just look for the Q&A link at the top of the page, and you can send a question in. I do answer those questions myself. I love to get your questions, and a great place to get pointed to some resources. That's all at the website, www.prudentmoney.com. One of the quotes in this article that they state is that 30% of people who moved money, this is Vanguard, from 2015 to 2003, missed out, 30% left their money sitting in cash. Like, this is the biggest, most horrible mistake you could make in your entire lifetime. And once again, as I said earlier, as if you've missed the rally of all time, which is so far from true. Once again, it's a matter of learning. Maybe you shouldn't have, left it in cash, but you did. It's no big deal. It's all based on what you do going forward. And I think this is one of the reasons that people avoid going to financial advisors is because of that sense that, I'm being judged for what I've done or what I've not done. Maybe I haven't saved enough. Maybe I have only $100,000 in an IRA and I'm embarrassed to that. And I don't want to go to a financial advisor and potentially be judged. There should be no judging going on when you go to a financial advisor. It's like, I talk about it like using the example of going to a doctor. A doctor after a while has seen just about everything. So there's really nothing that you can surprise a doctor with that's going on in your life. Probably not. And even if you did, it still wouldn't be that big surprise because you've seen just about everything. And you might think to yourself, well, I thought I'd seen everything, but this is a very interesting situation. You shouldn't have any judgment going on. And definitely a good financial planner would not make you feel that way. This article goes on to say that Americans give up more than $172 billion a year, leaving it in cash. So where they come up with that number, I don't know. Hey, a question is, in 2022, when the stock market lost 28%, did anybody miss anything if they would have been in cash? Making 5%, just out of curiosity. That's the thing is that besides the fact that pop culture finance makes you feel like you've missed something, missed the one, there's no more, you've missed the one, it's your major mistake that you've made when there's tons of different opportunities. They make it as if that the market never loses money. Sometimes you miss a good year to be out of the market. And here's a couple of things. The other thing they talk about too is older clients, that if the older client needs to move money from one account to another, and they miss out on the exposure to stocks because they quote unquote need exposure to stocks to make sure money lasts. Well, depending on how much money that they have exposed to stocks, that may actually put you behind the eight ball if you're not careful. You always want to be real careful as to how big of a percentage, if you're in retirement, that you're holding in stocks. Need to focus on what is a good amount. One of the things I tell people all the time, if you don't need to take risk, don't take it. Sometimes I think people feel like, well, we need a position in stocks. If you only need a 5% return or a 4% return to make it year in, year out for retirement and leave money, leave some inheritance to the kids, and investing into an annuity that pays 5.5% per year, guaranteed, locked in, at least you can do that for 10 years. Don't take the risk. Take the guarantees. It really makes no sense. Another one, this goes back to the point I was making earlier, a couple who rolled money over and still in cash, the advisor estimated that they had lost $100,000 by missing the rally. Then they talk about people that don't know how or if they are invested. Here's the thing. If you know thyself when it comes to moving money around, if you are one who tends to glance at your retirement every once in a while, stay pretty disconnected from what it's doing, don't know your risk level, probably not the best way to go about preparing for retirement, but realistically, there's people who are just wired that way. Get somebody that can help you, an advisor that can have a real hands-on approach, and make sure that they are very involved with the investments. This is where somebody like a fee-based financial advisor makes total sense. At least if you trust that their ability to do so, it would be great to have them handle that for you. And this is very typical of a pop culture finance article. Wouldn't be one if without it. They quote the long term. Since 1926, it says large cap stocks, which is your large, big companies. returned 7.19% a year versus 0.31% for cash. I would advise you not to be looking at this on such a long-term basis. Statistics like that are interesting, but if you looked at that and go, "Oh, I would rather be in stocks than cash," but maybe if you knew that cash was paying 5% today, that might be somewhat appealing. At least it is until they start to cut rates, whenever that'll be. And that large company stocks are a pretty big risk today. They're what's called overvalued. So just because it's made 7.19% doesn't mean that you're going to make 7.19%. And you also need to understand what goes into making up these averages, because they also don't tell you that, for instance, between 2007, October 2007 and March 2009, the stock market lost roughly 55%. So there's a lot more to it than what they tell you in these articles. The other thing to remember too is if you leave a company, smaller balances can be rolled over automatically to a retirement plan outside of the 401k plan without you knowing about it. Or they could just cut you a check. You randomly get a check, you don't know what it's for. You have 60 days to get that invested into a rollover IRA. This is what I thought was really a bad idea. This article has obviously had some had some links to Vanguard, because they talk a lot about Vanguard. It says the researchers at Vanguard want policymakers, they want Congress, to address this cash issue by extending to IRAs the legal protections available under a 2006 law that allows 401k plans to automatically enroll workers in diversified portfolios such as target date funds. I never agreed with the idea that you go to work for a company that's got a 401k plan and they automatically enroll you, automatically pick your investments for you based on these target date funds, which if we get a chance, I'll tell you what I think about target date funds. I'm not a real big fan. I think that people need to be, and I get it, they're doing it for people who won't do it, who won't be responsible. But still, I think that that's a decision that you should make individually. Their company should be better about offering financial advising help for free. Their company should be making sure that they're getting the right materials to make these decisions to sign up for the 401k plan. I think that that's more the answer than just forcing people. That's the easy way to do it. Now they want to extend this legal protection. So if you had a money that was forced into a 401k plan and something bad happened, I don't know what it would be. Maybe you lost something or something. The company's protected by law against liability for doing so. Now they want to say, well, the same thing applies to IRAs. That if you put money into an IRA at Vanguard, they can automatically invest it for you. They want policymakers to address this travesty cash issue. Oh, gosh. What a bad idea, though. I mean, freedom of choice, whether you like it or not. Target date funds are the most popular type of investment to use because they are intended, at least on paper, to be invested based on your age, which would supposedly invested based on your risk level based on your age. So if you were 10 years out from retiring, it would invest into a target date fund that was appropriately invested for someone who was 10 years out. Just kind of wrap it up with target date funds. The problem that I see with target date funds is that especially in the later years, they invest a lot more, they take a lot more risk than I think that, in my opinion, that I think that they should. They're still taking 35, 40% in some cases risk with exposure to stocks. I think that's way too much. And in fact, my best example of that is the target date fund back in 2007 or 2009 during the financial crisis. Well, they had like a 2005 target date fund, Fidelity did, and it lost something like 9 to 10%, which is not a good thing if you're in something that's supposed to be protecting you through the ups and downs of retirement, which you would think someone in a 2005 target date fund would be retired. So just a few things to think about. Another one of those pop culture finance days. Hey, this is Bob Brooks. You've been listening to the Prudent Money Radio Show. If you got a question for me, please go to the website at prudentmoney.com and send it in, because we are all out of time. Till we do meet again next time. Keep the faith and have a great rest of the day.
That's all the time we have for today. Questions or comments for Bob, or to find out more great information like what you've just heard, visit www.prudentmoney.com. Be sure to join Bob Brooks again for the next edition of Prudent Money.